There's a strange pattern that shows up when you study ancient survival. The farther back in time you go, the more efficient the methods become. Neanderthals didn't have magnesium blocks, ferro rods, stormproof matches, or butane fire starters. Yet they lived in climates modern campers would call impossible. They thrived in damp valleys, frozen uplands, rain-soaked woodlands and wind-scoured plains. And the one technique that kept them alive more reliably than anything else was their Tinder bundle. Not the modern version people toss together from dry grass and bark. A true Neanderthal bundle was engineered, intentional, and resilient enough to carry fire through rain, snow, and travel. It was so reliable that even today it can outperform much of the gear hanging on survival store racks. That's why, in this guide for backyard wisdom, we're unpacking the structure, strategy and forgotten genius behind the oldest fire-making system humans ever perfected. If you've ever doubted the practicality of ancient methods, this one will change your mind. The Neanderthal Tinder bundle worked because it solved fire transport and fire ignition at the same time. Most people, treat Tinder as just a way to start a spark. But Neanderthals, well, they saw it as a way to preserve a coal. They weren't lighting fires from scratch every single time. Instead, they were carrying smouldering embers from camp to camp, hunt to hunt, shelter to shelter. To do that, they needed a bundle that could ignite easily from friction sparks or flint steel, but also cradle and protect a glowing coal for hours without smothering it. Archaeological evidence shows that they used layers of plant fibres that burned at different rates. The inner fibres were fine, airy and fast-catching. These could be dry grass, cattail fluff, crushed inner bark, or seed heads. Now, the middle layer, well, that was made up of slow smouldering plant material. Things like fungi, scrapings from bracket fungus, punky wood, or even shredded willow bark. These materials, you see, could hold a gentle ember for quite some time. The outer layer, and this is really where the brilliance of the whole system shines, served as a protective wrap. It might have been rolled leaves, larger strips of bark, or sometimes even a cured skin pouch. This layer kept everything safe and together, So, when you put it all together, the structure created something you could light close carry, and then reopen later with the ember still alive and ready. Modern fire kits, well, they don't even try to do this. They just give you a spark source and assume you'll build the tinder from scratch every time. But Neanderthals, they treated fire like a resource, something precious that needed to be maintained, not just made anew. So, the secret of the bundle was really its ability to regulate oxygen naturally. The best proof of Neanderthal intention, comes from the burn patterns found on ancient tinder remains. These bundles left behind carbonized cores surrounded by partially burned plant layers. What this tells us is that oxygen reached the ember in slow, controlled amounts, just enough to keep it alive, but not enough to flare it into a flame. This airflow regulation is, honestly, the part most survivalists overlook when trying to replicate the technique. In practice, a slow burn core needs three things: very light compression wind protection and breathable insulation. The outer wrap of bark or large leaves gave wind protection. The middle smouldering material acted like charcoal, but without the need to produce charcoal bricks. And the inner fibres caught any spark instantly so that the user didn't waste flint or time. Once lit, the bundle didn't roar to life. It breathed. That breathing effect meant Neanderthals could tuck the ember under clothing, hang it from a pack, place it inside a horn container, or lodge it near their tools without risk of flare-ups. For mobility, it was unmatched. This ancient design still works today because the materials are available in almost every environment. Unlike some survival methods that depend on niche plants or regional bark types, this system is made from components found almost anywhere. With a little practice, modern users can recreate the structure in just a few minutes. Start by collecting your fine tinder. Dry grasses, nettle fibres, inner bark scrapings, and cattail fluff are ideal. Crush and loosen them until they form a light ball. Next, gather material that smoulders instead of flames. Punky wood from the inner core of a rotting log is excellent for this. Birch fungus, known historically as tinder fungus, also works, and it holds a coal for hours. Strip the fungus into thin curls, or if you prefer, scrape it into loose fibres. Finally, prepare the outer wrap. Birch bark is perfect because it curls easily and resists moisture, but honestly, large leaves or even the outer bark of dead branches can be used. Form your tinder bundle by placing the fine fibres in the centre, surrounding them with your smouldering layer and wrapping it gently without crushing it. Tie it lightly with a vine, thin root or cord. When you need a flame, just open the bundle blow gently on the core and feed the coal into a nest of dry fibres. Now, if you need to preserve fire and move on, simply collapse the layers slightly around a glowing ember, then re-wrap the bundle. The ember should shrink to a dull glow and, well, stay alive. The Neanderthal tinder bundle offers modern survivalists a dependable backup when gear fails. Anyone who has spent time in wet forests or cold mountains knows the frustration of damp tinder and stubborn sparks. Ferro rods work beautifully in training conditions, but rain, sleet and humidity can render even the best rod nearly useless. The Neanderthal bundle bypasses all of that by storing fire in a living state, rather than starting from scratch. If you're travelling long distances, especially through cold or wet terrain, a smouldering core gives you a huge advantage. It eliminates wasted time gathering tinder at each stop. It gives warmth instantly when needed. And it guarantees that if your spark source breaks, gets lost, or corrodes, you still have fire. Carrying embers inside a horn, a bark cylinder, or even a tin can replicates exactly what ancient humans did. So, you see, this makes the method not just a novelty, but, well, a practical insurance policy for off-grid travel, homesteading and bushcraft. This is one of humanity's oldest survival tools, and it still has a place today. The Neanderthal Tinder bundle isn't romantic speculation. It's an engineered system that shows how deeply our ancestors understood fire behavior. They didn't treat flame as something fragile. They treated it as a companion, something to be carried, protected and guided through landscapes that could kill the unprepared. For anyone learning outdoorsmanship, this method is a reminder that the best survival tricks aren't always the newest. Sometimes they're the ones that kept our earliest ancestors alive. If you want more forgotten fieldcraft ancient techniques and historically grounded survival knowledge, make sure you subscribe to Backyard Wisdom and, share this video with others who appreciate skills that stand the test of time.